Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo, and this is Three Buck Theater. And as Rogue One, a Star Wars story, I always slip when I try to say that. But as it gets closer and closer to being released on home video, and as Amazon gets closer and closer to shipping me my pre-ordered Blu-ray, we're going to be getting a lot of information about the behind the scenes of the movie, the filmmaking processes of the movie, and all the cool little tidbits that went into the production. Because let's face it, whatever your thoughts are on Rogue One, it's still cool to have an ancillary Star Wars story, and they put a lot of love into it. Maybe the story needed some work every once in a while, but ultimately I think there was a lot of good in the movie, more good than definitely bad. That being said, there's this new little story bit that's popped up, this change that happened, and it all had to do with Jyn's mother. Now, essentially, her character was entirely a throwaway character in what we saw on the screen. We know that she's in the movie for like 2 seconds, she dies, that's that. But in an early draft, she was actually going to be a Jedi Knight. And according to Gareth Edwards, he says here, the prologue at one point in time, a long time ago, was going to be the Empire coming to kill the Jedi, and Jyn's mom was going to be a Jedi. Then he goes on to say this: our instinct told us that we wanted a scene where Jyn is orphaned because of what Krennic does, which sets her on the path of being a child of war. The problem was that the second you make her mom a Jedi, you spend the entire movie questioning whether Jyn is a Jedi or not. Eventually, we came up with the idea that her father should have designed the Death Star. That became a stronger way into stealing the Death Star plans. We let go of the mother being a Jedi, and she just became a rebellious mom. And the funny thing, too, about that is, given Gareth Edwards, like Gary Whittia and Chris Weitz' political opinions, at least in terms of feminism and social justice and whatnot, you figure they would have fought harder to keep Jyn's mom as being more than just kind of a throwaway token-esque character, right? Because that's kind of what she was. I mean, there's a lot of fights with people over whether or not Star Wars should feature female leads and everything else. I happen to both like Jyn and Rey personally, but I just kind of laugh at this because it's like they're saying, we really wanted to make the mom a more important character, but we realized that it was really dumb story wise, so we just killed her off and made the dad the more important character because, Mads Mikkelsen and all that jazz. Like that's my takeaway from it. But at the same time, one of what I believe the merits of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is the fact that it did not focus on the Jedi. The fact that it was completely a war movie. It wasn't part of the Skywalker saga. It wasn't about the Force. Yes, the mom is very, she's very much in belief of the Force. You can, tell that when she gives Jyn the Kyber crystal, right before she goes back and gets killed, which was really kind of dumb. That scene bothered me. It was like, I get it that they want to make Jyn an orphan. Like, I get that. But it was like the mom going and like, I think the mom knew she was going to die, but you figure she would like do something like, pull out a grenade or something and, like Allah Akbar herself in order to fucking take out Krennic. But she just like fires off a round and like hits him in the fucking shoulder. And then she gets killed by the Death Troopers. That to me just felt like, okay, we need to find a way to kill this woman. And how do we do it? Oh, we'll just have her pull out a gun from like 40 feet away and expect an untrained person to fucking hit the broadside. She basically, at that point in time, she had better, I will fully say, she had a better aim than pretty much every stormtrooper in the original trilogy had, right? She had better aim. But still, it was like one of those situations where it's like, okay, you could tell they just wrote themselves into this corner. Like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's death was more hard hitting because you didn't see it coming. In this particular case, you saw it coming, which is one of the problems with the story of Rogue One. I'm not saying it's perfect in terms of its story, but I did like the fact that it didn't focus on the Jedi and it didn't focus on the Skywalkers, and that it spent its time trying to tell us this war story with characters in the rebellion that would do horrible things in order to fight back against the Empire, which was also doing horrible things. That's the whole issue here, is like, you're never going to walk away from these kind of battles with, with your soul intact. You're never going to walk away with a clean slate. And that is in part of what happened to Cassian. And I really liked Cassian's character. At first, I didn't quite like him, but then I saw the movie a few more times, and I began to really like the character. And I'm glad that they all died in the end. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. I'm glad that they all died in the end because it said it as a standalone story. Their sacrifices are what led to Luke destroying the Death Star, to Luke becoming a Jedi, to Luke stopping the Emperor, because Luke was always the one the prophecy foretold of. It wasn't Anakin, it was totally Luke. But even then, I think you could even argue that maybe to an extent it was Anakin, just because of the whatever happened at the end of Return of the Jedi, you know, when Vader grabs the Emperor and throws him off the balcony and shit. Like, but honestly, I would argue still that it was Luke, because Luke changed Anakin, you know, reminded him of who he was, reminded him of the good that's in him. And then now we're seeing it once again where the Force is out of balance, and that's entirely possible. And I'm kind of going off on an odd tangent here. And that's entirely possible because there's always a master and an apprentice. There's always two. There's always the rule of two, and that in Force Awakens is a little out there. And also, well, I mean, the rule of two appeared in fucking the prequel trilogy, but Luke was the only. Well, no, there were two Jedi. There was Yoda and Luke. So you could argue that after Obi-Wan died, it's, you know what, the mythology of that is a little bit wonky, and I'd like there to be some clarification that is officially canon. But in the meantime, Star Wars Rogue One, no Jedis, and I'm totally happy about that. I'm totally cool with that. So I'm glad that the story bit ended up getting changed. Although I do feel ultimately that they just kind of wasted her character. I mean, to be fair, it would have been better if she just would have been slaughtered without standing up. You know what I mean? Like, I know that they wanted to convey the whole, oh, but she's defending her family. No, she grabbed a gun and pointed it like 30, 40 feet away at the bad guy who was like having guns pointed at her husband. And there was no way out. You know what I mean? And it was just like, again, it's like, you figure, God damn it. You figure she would have done something other than just get shot and killed right there. It just, that part bothers me still. And it will always bother me because you could tell they had no real plan. So they just kind of scrapped something together. But then again, that also kind of explains the final act of the movie in terms of its journey, which I did like. So I'm all over the fucking place, and I admit that. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Would Jyn's mom being a Jedi Knight be something you want to see? Do you give a shit about this particular story element? These are things I'm curious to know about, so go ahead and write them down in the comments. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. You've been listening to 3 Buck Theater. If you haven't already, please thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, definitely comment, and definitely check back for more daily content from me. All right, guys, I will see you later. Have yourself a great day. Peace out.